Alright, here we go. Take two, part 9, transmission rebuild. Taking the oil pump off. I had to do this all off camera because it was a real pain in the ass to do. But there were 7 bolts, 13 millimeter around this. Took them all off. They weren't tight or anything like that. And then the pump still wouldn't come out. It doesn't just fall out. You got to pull it out. And it was a real struggle. You know, it's out right now. But the way that I did it, at first I thought maybe you had to remove this seal. So I buggered it up a bunch, and it turns out that you don't have to remove the seal, because on the other side there are 3 holes here. 1, 2, 3. You can actually see the end of the pump. See that shiny thing right there? That's the inside of the pump. So, you know, originally it sits up right against that. There's a little gasket here. I don't know if you can see that on camera. Maybe. There's a gasket right there. It sits up right next to it. So I just took a big screwdriver, stuck it in here, went like that on all 3 of them here, and the pump came out. Hopefully I didn't damage anything, because I was reefing on it kind of hard. I know I chipped off a little piece right there. Hopefully it doesn't hurt nothing. But anyway, the pump just comes right out after you get that, and it looks like that. And it's leaking fluid all over my hands, so that's fun. I'll put this right here for now. Look at it. So this guy comes apart, separate. Right here there's a gasket, I guess you could call that, or a separator ring, some kind of thing like that. And it's these 5 13 millimeter bolts. Take all them off, and your pump comes apart. There's also a little ring right there of sorts. I don't know if I missed any other ones, but there's a little, what do you call that? I don't know, grommet or something. Seal probably is the proper term for that. That's your transmission drum in there. This is the gasket that I was telling you about. Comes off just like that. There you go. On the bottom, there's that gasket for your oil pump. And then transmission drum comes out when you pull this shaft. It comes out like that. It's like some tabs around the edges here that I'm gonna have to pull up on. Right there. 4 tabs total, I think. That's not a tab actually, it's 3 tabs it looks like probably. That just pulls out of there, so I'll do that in the next part of this. But this one is just about this oil pump, so I'm going to take this apart and show you what that looks like. Wow, that was tough. I'll give you a fair warning. These are not easy to get out on a rotating surface. I had to prop it up sideways right here against my leg to get enough leverage on it, and it wouldn't roll so I could break all these free. But my God. Okay, so here we go. As you can see, as I unscrew this one, the pump is beginning to separate from the pump plate, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the actual name of it is, but it's separating, so I guess that's good. I'm going to take this little seal out from here. So it's still 99 or 66, depending on how you look at it. Oh, it's a little filter. Okay, that makes more sense. So yeah, there's a little tiny trans filter right there. That's fun. Put that over with the rest of the stuff. And then take the rest of this off. And it's really coming apart now. I mean, these bolts are fairly long. I'll show you when I take this one out here. Come on, how much more is there? Not that much. Alright, there we go. They're about that long, so not super long, but not short either. And this is the pump. This comes apart like that. There's some springs and shit that I just misplaced. That's your input shaft and all your little valve body pump nonsense on here. That's where the transmission filter goes. That's where all this stuff. To get the actual input shaft off, you just loosen those 3 Allen or Torx head bolts on there, and that'll come right off. But I'm not going to do that because I'm not taking apart the oil pump on this trans. I'm just rebuilding it. But this is some kind of, I guess this is the pump mechanism. There's a little ring that goes on first here. That. And then there's this guy with all those little magnets that go around in the grooves of this. This is a magnet actually itself, and it uses the magnetic force to pump the fluid through all these little passageways. And fun fact about this little thing is this guy, you'll notice, has these little notches in the center. This actually sits right here on the torque converter. That's what locks it in. So when you're taking off a torque converter and you're moving it back and forth, eventually it's going to come off like that. That's why that happens. So that's the gist of your oil pump. So make sure you have the right, the dimples were up on this. So see the dimples in that track right there and right there facing up. So it fell apart like that. And all these little magnet guys came with it. And there's a little spinny thing in the middle too. This guy looks like that. Comes with it. And then another ring at the bottom here. This one might be in different thickness, so I want to make sure that stays separate from the rest of the shit. Get my last magnet out of there. Oops. Yeah, that's what the inside of a transmission oil pump looks like. So there's that video for you. It's dripping fluid all over the place, which is fine. Okay, next I'll take this trans drum out, and we'll get moving on from there.